I purchased an artist print that I absolutely have wanted forever. It's James Christensen piece, and it's called Out of the Box. It shows this man on his box before anyone else gets up in the morning, and he's alone for now. There's not a cloud in the sky. Everything is a possibility. When we have paradigm shifts, we are literally choosing to look out of the box. That's my wish for every single one of us for 2025. Where do we have those needs for those paradigm shifts? And what are we going to do to be able to step into that? Well, you got 10 ideas. I'm excited for those paradigm shifts because I know and I remember how life-changing the one I had 10 years ago was. I've had some others since. I'm looking for another really big one. Okay, you going to join me in 2025? Let's do this because we are creators and we create the life that we want. Yep. Paradigm shifts. That's my focus this week. I invite you to join me. Hey guys, it's Roseanne. And when do you know that it's time to change your mind about the way you think about something? When do you know it's time for a paradigm shift? Well, that's our topic today. And actually, I've got some great actionable things that we can do to help us discover and step into having some paradigm shifts in our life. I think you remember some times in your life when maybe you just believed a certain way or you acted a certain way or did things a certain way. And then all of a sudden you had this grand paradigm shift that was like, what? Why did it take me so long to start thinking in this way? And more importantly, to start acting in this way? Well, paradigm shifts can be an amazing thing. And sometimes we just need to challenge ourselves. What areas in my life do I need a paradigm shift? Okay, that's what's happening today. And I think you're going to find this incredibly useful, especially since we're walking into a brand new year. Maybe we need to take some new beliefs with us. A couple months ago, I became so consumed about, are there some areas in my life where I need to have some paradigm shifts? So much so that I reached out to a lot of my friends on Marco Polo and go, have you guys figured out when you need to have a paradigm shift? And they were like, yeah, there are times in my life when I felt stuck or I felt like nothing was really happening in my life. And I knew I need to search out where and what I needed to do to make the dial move. And I think I found myself there a couple months ago with all the political agendas that were out there. I kept thinking, where is truth? How can I discern? And do I need to have a total paradigm shift about how I'm viewing all of this? Well, we know that there is value in paradigm shifts, but why are they so crucial and what are they anyway? Well, if you go back to a book called Seven Habits for Highly Effective People, Stephen Covey said, paradigm shifts are the ability to see with new eyes. It's not just tweaking the lens, it's getting a whole new camera. Now, let me tell you about a paradigm shift that I had. 10 years ago, I went through a divorce and my marriage wasn't super happy. You can always look back, or you should always look back and say, what could I have done differently? What do I wish would have been differently? What was my part in it? I can't change their part. But I know that sometimes when we feel like we've been victimized, that becomes our story. But the paradigm shift I had was, oh, what did I become? What those hard things I was going through, what were the lessons that I was being taught and what was I supposed to learn? Because ultimately, if I'm learning it, then I'm becoming a better version of myself and or not repeating that, right? So I remember having that paradigm shift about 9, 10 years ago, life-changing, because when tough things happen in our lives, and when do they not, right? There may be periods of peace, but when those tough things happen, instead of going into woe me, which I don't know if you guys have ever done that, but I have, right? It was more of like, okay, what am I learning? And what is this helping me become? Doesn't mean it's easy, right? But that was a huge paradigm shift for me and life changing for me because I did have a different lens that I was looking through life at. And it helped me be able to maneuver some things that probably could have just kept me beaten down and not moving forward. And sometimes we view things as failure, but failure, as we know, is an option. I mean, I think about the story of Dr. Spencer Silver. He was a chemist at 3M, and he accidentally created a low tack adhesive, right? It wasn't, nothing would stay stuck. So he thought this was a failure. But years later, his colleague, Art Fry, realized that this failure could solve his problem. So he kept needing to have bookmarks stay in his books. And so he was using the low adhesive on there. And of course, the Post-it note was born. And we all know the beauty of having Post-it notes, right? So there's the power of the paradigm shift of even being able to view something as not a failure, or also being able to view a failure as not necessarily a failure. It's either moving you further forward towards something you can use, or what was a failure, utilizing it for something different, right? So why should we even care about paradigms? Okay, we got a brand new year coming right around the corner. And not only do we have goals that we're setting, but what are those paradigm shifts that we need to have in our life? Because growth demands that we change. And Albert Einstein said, we cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them. So whether it's in our relationships, our career, our health, or our personal development, if we cling on to those outdated beliefs, we're just going to spin our wheels in 2025. Look at J.K. Rowling. Before Harry Potter was really that phenomenon, she was a struggling single mom on welfare. And she felt like in her situation, she was never going to be able to succeed. But then she had a paradigm shift. And she knew to focus on what she loved and what she was good at. And all of a sudden, here we had the Harry Potter series, which is now this phenomenon, and now it has this enduring legacy. Paradigm shifts can really unlock the potential we didn't even know existed. But they always challenge our comfort zone, because it wouldn't be a paradigm shift if it was something we could easily shift to. Our life experiences, is any who follow this channel know that we talk about the neural network, and everything is recorded down in our neurons, all that data that belief is true. So when you're having a paradigm shift, you're not only changing that, but you're changing the biochemistry around that belief. So when we end up having paradigm changes, wow, it's an extraordinary change. So how do we recognize if we need to change? Here's 3 signals. 1, when you have the same problems happening over and over again. So if we are facing the same challenges, that's a sign that maybe our current approach is just not working. So for example, if you're stuck in a toxic relationship, or if you're stuck in a no-win job, it might be time to examine your boundaries, your self-worth, your skills, those sorts of things. So look at where in your life do you have a repetition of problems. The second signal place to look at is if you have like the sense of restlessness, like you feel unfulfilled, and it's often your intuition that's like nudging you to like expand your horizon, go forward. And there's something there. Scientifically, we have a comfort zone. And so we butt up against the boundaries of that a lot. And that's why we don't just like go gung ho, but to have that paradigm shift to like, okay, I'm going to go forward. And you try it for a while and see what the results are. There's this cute little Instagram. Maybe it's computer generated. I don't know. But it's a little calf in a pen with its 2 female cows. And that little calf runs around and it jumps over the fence. And then it's running with the horses. I love it. I'm like cheering on this little calf. That's what it's like when we get out of the boundaries, when we go over the wall. So that second thing is, where in your life do you have this sense of restlessness? The third is, when you keep getting external feedback, sometimes others can see our blind spots better than we can. So multiple people are telling us the same thing. Maybe it's time to take a cue to reflect and think, man, how do I need to rethink the way I believe or act or what I'm doing? So think now in your life, is there a place where you have a repetition of problems reoccurring, or you're just feeling restless? Like, I need to break through these boundaries, or external feedback is telling you, pay attention. So what do? Okay, can I list 10 ideas? Is that too many? I'm going to go really fast because this really helped me to kind of start thinking about some of the areas that I was questioning in my life, to rethink whether I need to tweak the way I believe or have that paradigm shift. The first is audit some of your beliefs, like journal, write down what your beliefs are that you've held about success, about relationships, about health, about money, even, and ask yourself, are these beliefs serving me? And then challenge them. So audit your beliefs. The second is seek new perspectives. Immerse yourself in books, in podcasts, in conversations that challenge your current worldview. Listen to TED Talks, different things that help you see things or understand things differently. Documentaries are also fascinating to listen to. The third thing, experiment and reflect. Try something new. Could be small. It could be like changing your morning routine, or as big as learning that new skill. And then look at your results and then reflect on that, knowing that failure is an option. In fact, failure is sometimes the key to getting us to where we need to be. And it may look very different from what we're thinking. Okay, I'm going to try this. See, it's not working. I'm not going to do it. No, but if you're like, oh, but what if I did that? And it's tweaked a little bit. So knowing that, okay, I could fail, but I'm going to keep trying or try it a different way. The fourth one, engage in brainstorming sessions. I love that when you talk to other people, because literally, have you ever been in a book group where you'll read a book and somebody else extrapolates something different out of it than you do? And you're like, oh, I love that they came up with that perspective. I think it's so fascinating when you get brains together and ruminate on things. You can even bring forward your own issue and like, okay, let's look at things from lots of different directions. And I have a friend that he's really good at when you share something, he's intently listen. He'll say, I appreciate you bringing that forward. And then he repeats it. Now, whether or not he embraces that, it makes you feel good about sharing, but brainstorming sessions. Number 5 would be practice meditation and mindfulness. Sometimes I just have to quiet my mind and listen. I am quite a talker, but when I can quiet my mind, I can kind of connect with an intelligence that's higher than mine. I can also do that when I'm journaling. As you ask lots of questions when you're journaling, a lot of times you'll find yourself writing down information. Later, you'll figure out, wow, I think I was just given some information. It's really fascinating. Intuitive journaling is what I call it. The 6th is travel to new places, go new places, unfamiliar places, even if it's not far from where you are. Get exposed to different cultures, different ideas, ways of living. I loved it when I lived in Italy for 4 years because there were so many things that they did differently. And did I resist a lot of them at first? Yes. And some of them I thought, I'll never adopt those. And later it's like, I loved the way they lived life. There's so much about what they did that I appreciate, that it opened up my perspective had I not been exposed to it, right? Am I going to embrace everything? No. But there are those beautiful things that everyone does, every single culture has, that we can embrace or choose to adapt. Number 7, I love this one. Ask what if questions. Instead of thinking within your limitations, ask, well, what if I tried it a different way? Or what if that would succeed? What if I couldn't fail at it? What if it produced the results I needed? So what if questions, a great way to expand where we need a paradigm shift. Number 8, reconnect with nature. There is so much out there in nature. There's so much that's symbolic in learning that it can teach us, but it also gets us in that place of fresh thinking and calming our mind. Years ago, I would have thought people were crazy that hugged a tree. I'm like, that's the craziest thing. But when you learn the science of frequency and energy that comes up through the trunks of the trees, it no longer can become silly. It's like, whoa, that kind of makes a lot of sense. So get out in nature and allow nature to surround you with its incredible vibration. Number 9, embrace failure as a teacher. Think back on your past failures and now think with that new lens of, well, what did that teach me? And instead of thinking that as failures, you say, oh, well, that was my stepping stone that I was learning to succeed. I love that. Failures are stepping stones, not an indication of our inability. And the last one is mentor or teach others. When we explain concepts to other people, it forces us to look at them differently too, and often get new insights because of it. That's 10 ways that we can really kind of rattle our cage on some of the areas where we maybe are stuck, or we need a paradigm shift, or we need to find truth in a different way. Okay, here's my invitation as we wrap this up. My challenge for you this week is think of an area in your life where you feel stuck, you're uninspired, or just have feelings that there needs to be a change. So write it down. Then brainstorm on ways you can approach it differently this week. Remember, even those small incremental things we do add up to monumental change, right? And honestly, we are the creators of our life, and we create the life that we want. So just think how amazing that would be if we could identify and create a paradigm shift in our life that propels us forward in the most amazing way. Get curious, guys. Progress is not staying at status quo. It's challenging. Where do I need to believe different, do different, and become different? This year of 2025 is going to be a year of incredible change. I hope you'll join in on this journey because it's never boring when we have the tools to make the changes. All right, my friends, tally ho, and we'll see you next time.